My name is Carlos Spindler. I was born in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I joined the Navy in 1943. In December of 1943 I joined the Navy. I was in the Navy until April of 1946. I was in boot camp in Farragut, Idaho. From there I went to San Diego to torpedoman school, which I didn't last very long. And then from there I caught a ship, the USS Kitkin Bay, and I went aboard her in about April.
Now wait a minute, why didn't you last long in the torpedo school?
Well,
blowing
the
up?
reason I didn't last too long because they had a lot of math in it, and I wasn't good at math. And it was one of those deals where it was a 16-week course, and if you didn't pass it, you could get out. And I could see that I couldn't pass the test, so I asked to get out, which I did real quick like. And then I went aboard ship.
What kind of ship was it on?
I went up on the USS Kitkin Bay. It was a CVE-71, which was a baby aircraft carrier. And I put 2 years on her.
And where did you end up?
Practically all over the South Pacific. And then we were finally decommissioned her in Farragut, or in Bremerton, Washington in 1946.
Now, where did you go in the South Pacific with the ship?
Well, to start with, we supported the landing at Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, the Pelileo Islands, to New Guinea, Ulithi, the Philippines, and we got hit off the Philippines, and we thought she was going to get sink, but we abandoned her. But we come back aboard her again and brought her back to the States, and we was operating off the coast of Japan when the war was over with.
Now, when you say you got hit, what hit you? Torpedo?
A suicide plane hit us.
Okay, where were you when that happened?
I was on a gun. I was on a 40mm gun, and the plane hit us right at the water's edge, knocked a hole in a 7 by 20, and he had two 500-pound bombs on, but they didn't detonate, thank goodness. But otherwise, we took water, and they thought we abandoned her because we thought she was going to sink, which she didn't. The destroyers picked us up. The next day, she was still floating, so we came back aboard her and got a seagoing tug and come back to the States for repair.
Now, you say abandoned her. What did you get into?
Destroyers come alongside and pick most everybody.
Oh, you didn't have to jump in the water or small boats?
No.
Okay, lucky. And this was during, what was going on at the time you got hit?
We were taking a convoy. They were going to go into Luzon in the northern island, and we were taking we had about 20 troop ships. We were escorting up there, and one suicide plane came in and he hit us.
And this was, and your boat was considered a small aircraft carrier?
It was they called them Kaiser coffins. They were so small. We only operated 30 planes. We only had a flight deck of 500 foot is all. They made about 40 or 50 of them during World War II, and Kaiser made them on the West Coast. But they were, wasn't much to them. I mean, a 50 caliber would go through we had no armor plate or nothing like that. We were only supposed to be escort carriers, but we went into combat and we did good. And we were also in the Second Battle of the Philippines. The Jap fleet caught us. There were 6 of us carriers, and they sunk one of us, and then the suicide plane sunk another one. So out of 11 ships, we lost 5 in that combat.
The Philippines. Oh. How about the other? Now you say support. The aircraft were used to support?
Yeah, we used them for air cover and that taking, and then they used our aircraft for support landing troops and that for.
Okay. Any other islands that you went to besides that?
Well, like I said, we were real lucky. We had a lot of torpedoes shot at us. We missed us. I mean, from submarines, and otherwise we were fairly lucky, all in all.
So you were on top of deck when all the activities.
I was on a member of a 40mm anti-aircraft gun.
And what were you shooting at?
Mostly
aircraft.
Incoming aircraft. We would send a squadron out to intercept them, and when they got through our squadron, then it was up to us to take care of them ourselves. So, and we got hit by 2 different suicide planes, but one just barely hit us. But this other guy, he did a pretty good job of it. So.
Now, I have to ask, when you start shooting like this, Is it hard to hit the plane because they're moving? Did you have any hits?
Yes. We didn't have just like you'd have open sights on a gun. I mean, every other bullet was a tracer, and you could just use them like tracer controls when you started shooting. It just doing the best of your ability to hit them. But we did fairly well on that. But we had a lot of gunnery practice. I mean, we'd have a plane tone a sleeve, and then we'd had lots of gunnery practice like that. So.
Well, were you able to put any hash marks on the side of the ship?
Yeah, we got, if I can remember rightly, I think we shot down 26 planes, and our squadron got a heavy cruiser, and I think they got some hits on the battleships, on some Japanese battleships. I can't just remember offhand because it was 60-some years ago, but we had a pretty good credit for what we were and what we did and where we were at.
Now, were you involved in the support of Iwo Jima?
Nope. We missed Okinawa and Iwo Jima. When we got hit January 9th, 1945, we were back in the States on Iwo and Okinawa. And then when we got back out in again, that's when they was sending the bombers over Japan. And like I said, we were off the coast of Japan when the armistice was signed. And then 4 days after the armistice was signed, we went into Tokyo Bay. And then we got orders to go out, I can't remember what the island was, but it was one of the northern islands. We picked up prisoners of war that had been prisoners of war for the whole war.
Our guys, you mean?
Our guys, and English Marines that were Imperial Guards in the Philippines when the war started. We had some English sailors, but these guys were skin and bone, and we picked them up like a week or 10 days after the war was over and brought them back down to Tokyo Bay, and then the hospital ships took them in. And
when you say you picked them up, you had small landing craft to get them?
No, we pulled this island. We pulled right into the docks on this island, and the Japanese met us there. And we were all on alert because it was only 10 days after the war was over, and we were still kind of worried. But and how we found out about these prisoners, I don't know. But we picked up 200 and some of them. And the funniest part about it was this Major Devereaux was a Marine, a highly decorated Marine, and he ended up being a general, and he was one of the prisoners of war that we picked up. I always remember that because he still had his dress uniform when we picked him up.
He had that with him in the prison.
And that's what made everybody wondered. And another thing we wondered about this too. They brought him aboard under guard, and he looked in pretty good shape. But all the rest of these boys were skin and bone, and it made you cry when you saw them come aboard.
Why was he under guard?
We don't know. We have no idea. All we know is they brought him, and like I said, he was in his dress uniform. And unless he got special privileges or what, I do not know. But this is the way it ended out.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to talk to any of the guys at all?
We gave up our bunks, like I said, for some of them. And when they had my bunk, I talked to him, and I should have got his name, but I didn't. And all I know is that he was an Imperial Guard in Manila when the Japanese took over there, and he became. And then the rest of them, I don't know, because they were kind of kept separate. I suppose for interrogating and things like that. I don't know, but.
That's interesting. They would transport them all the way from the Philippines into Japan itself.
Yeah. We like I said, I can't remember what this northern island was, but we picked them up, and it was just a couple of days, and we were back down into Tokyo Bay, and there was a hospital ship there, and they took most of them over there to examine them, and that's the end of that story.
Did you then stay there in the harbor for a while?
We came back to the States, and they transferred us. Put on our hangar deck, they put bunks there, and we brought troops back from Okinawa. We made 2 or 3 trips to Okinawa, bringing troops back, Marines back, that was coming back after the war was over with. And that. But the funniest part about that was, too, a lot of those Marines still had their guns and their M1s and their stuff, and the ocean must be full of them, too, because a lot of them would look at that gun and say, what do I want this thing for? I saw many of them throw overside and a lot of their equipment. But
Jesus. Now, where were you when they dropped the nuclear bomb on Japan?
We were operating. We were about 400 miles off the coast of Japan. when we heard the news on that. And then when the war was over with, they kept us on alert. We wasn't in Tokyo Bay when it was signed. We were operating out of Tokyo Bay there with our aircraft at alert, just in case that something
false.
that wasn't quite
Right, trap.
ready yet. Yeah.
The whole thing was a trap or something. Okay, did you go to any other islands during
No.
the conflict?
No, like I said, it's between Pearl Harbor and New Guinea and all those little islands in there, we hit just about all of them. I mean,
Did you stop in New Guinea?
oh yeah, we was in New Guinea 2 different times.
Doing what?
Well, we were in there just taking supplies one time, and like I said, it's been so long ago I can't remember exactly why. But I can't.
What am I missing here, Richard?
I like the story what happened when the plane hit his aircraft.
Yeah, you know, that was the funniest thing too. You know, we had, like I said, we must have had 24 transports full of troops, and just about 2 hours before this happened, here come the battleships and the cruisers and all this. We only had 2 aircraft carriers giving support to these troops, these troop ships. And when here come the big heavy stuff up, we thought, man, we're safe now. Here we got the battleships, we got the cruisers, we got more destroyers, and wouldn't you know it, one lone plane. He was up off at an angle, and when he started down, everybody was shooting at him. Oh, one other thing too, I forgot to tell you. In this same deal, when we were shooting at him, one of our own ships lopped a shell up there, and it lopped over and hit us, and it knocked out 3 or 4 20mm guns on the starboard side of our ship. I mean, it was one of our own shells. That was just one of those fluky deals. And our junior division officer, I was in the 1st Division, our junior officer, he got killed because he was the captain on those bunch of 20mm. But I think we lost about 10 or 12 men there from one of our own shells. And then another thing we did, as long as we're talking about this, well, the first engagement we got into was in about June of 1944. Jap planes come in on us, and so we were sending our planes off as fast as we could. And our sister ship was right straight abroad from us, the USS Gambier Bay, and she was launching planes. And at the same time, this torpedo plane come in between them and the planes that she was launching, and we started to shooting at her, and we shot down 2 of the Gambier Bay's planes. But both pilots got out safely. But we shot down 2 of our own planes, and we shot down this Betty that was coming in on a torpedo run on us. But I mean, so those fluky things do happen.
Oh, that still happens.
But like I said, thank goodness both these pilots we got out of it. But we shot down 2 of our own planes. So.
Yeah, well, it happened in between the ships.
This Betty torpedo plane was using them for a screen, and when we started shooting, we just never let up.
Wow.
But like I said, this guy that was up there at an angle, you couldn't hardly see him when he started diving on us, and everybody was shooting at him. I mean, you take your battleships and your cruisers and those, they've got a lot of firepower, and nobody could seem to hit him. Nobody could hit him, but he hit us.
But with the torpedo bomb?
He had 2 500-pound bombs on us.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, and the funniest part about it is they didn't detonate, and we came back. We had come clean back into Pearl Harbor to go into dry dock, and then they had to get a demolition squad. They got us all off in there, and the demolition squad come on to take those 2 bombs off and de-detonate them. But if they would have blown up, the ship couldn't have handled that at all.
Oh gosh! So that was stuck in the side of the ship, or is it inside?
Right inside. It went right in the after engine room, and most all of the black gang was in the after engine room. They all took it, because when the plane they figured they found about 20 pounds of the Jap suicide plane. I mean, of the pilot that was piloting this thing when he hit us.
Well, what were the pictures of?
That was the second battle of the Philippines, when the Japanese fleet caught us unexpectedly, and they were shelling us, and our destroyers were laying smoke trying to cover us up, and so in turn the USS Hole, the Samuel B. Roberts, and the can't think of the other now, they made torpedo runs on the Jap battleships, and all 3 of them got sunk. The Samuel B. Roberts, the Hole, and the Johnson the Hole and the Johnson were destroyers. The Samuel B. Roberts was a destroyer escort. But they made a torpedo run on the Japanese fleet, and they all three got sunk. A lot of men were lost there, and that's what those pictures are about.
So, wow, they lucky to go off.
Would you, Carlos, be willing to share your personal experience through this ordeal?
Yeah, it's just it's all that's what happened to me. It's, as close as I can tell you is the truth. So, yes, I think it's kind of interesting. You know, the part about it is,
Like when you were wounded and thrown off the ship. Could you tell us about that?
I'm doing that.
When you were wounded and thrown off the ship?
I see. I wasn't wounded. I was just banged up. What happened to me now to get my disability, I ended up getting TB aboard ship and didn't even know it. Because when I went to go get my discharge, everybody got discharged and they said, we got to keep you over. All of a sudden they said, you got a spot on your lungs. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we got to get, and that's how I happened to get my compensation. They got my records. I was in the vet's hospital and getting this hip fused, and I said, you know, I don't have no income. So they finally found my records. When I went in the service, my lungs were good. When I came out of the service, I had a big spot in my lungs. It was a tuberculosis spot. And I developed that in the service and didn't even know it.
And when he was discharged, they didn't tell him he didn't have any idea that he had that.
Oh.
So, but
Until,
like I said,
until his hip started giving him all this trouble.
yeah.
Maybe it was something on the ship that caused it, maybe.
Well, we don't know. Well, like I said, I was in a deck gang, and then I was on a gun, and it was 4 hours on and 4 hours off. And there was times when, you know, half the time you didn't know which way you was going. You know, you was under alert all the time, and you got somebody watching you too.
Yeah, I like that. What's the dog's name?
Corky.
Corky.
That's my little buddy.
Well, let me just take a look at Corky here. I'm a dog person, so.
He's my little buddy.
How old is Corky?
5 years old.
Pretty calm, isn't he? Because he's sitting in your lap, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Corky, hi.
He's starting to get a little gray around the muzzle.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm a dog person, so I appreciate dogs.
I think probably I'm 85 years old, and I suppose I can say I had 50 dogs in my life.
Oh, wow.
50, or more or less. Well, I had
How many wives?
One beautiful one.
I had 12 huskies at one time. I was going to have a sled dog team.
Oh, gosh. Well, Carlos, anything else I should be talking to you about in the islands over there? Any other battles you were involved in besides that one or two?
No,
And when you crossed the Pacific, did you have many ships to go with you, so you wouldn't be torpedoed?
Oh yeah, we were always were. There were 6 of us carriers that operated together a lot. I mean, and we did a lot of things together. It was, in fact, when the Japanese fleet caught us, the Second Battle of the Philippines was one of the biggest naval battles there was. It was called Taffy 3, is what that was called. And like I said, well, there was 11 ships there, and 5 of them got sunk on that deal. But that was the biggest one we ever ran into. But we had a lot of attacks from aircraft. I mean, and submarines and that. But we had like I said, I know I was on gun watch one night when all of a sudden I seen a wake come in, and here the torpedo went by our bow about 20 foot from a sub. And of course, you know, we didn't have that many destroyers out there on submarine patrol, you know, and those buggers could sneak in on you too.
So when one just missed you, then what did the ship captain do next? Turn it or?
That's right. Yeah, zigzagging. Normally, when we were close into combat, we was on a zigzag course all the time. We'd never go straight. It was always a zigzagging course. For the one simple reason is to keep any submarines off alert a little bit, so they couldn't.
So when that torpedo went by you,
Pretty happy.
Did anybody else see it and pass the word?
It was middle of the night, and I was on gun watch. I suppose the guys on the other side of the ship. I'm sure that it was reported by somebody else too. You know.
Was there an alert sounded then?
No, it was just one of those deals that
You missed and you keep on going.
Yeah.
Golly.
And I can't think of nothing else. I suppose I will tomorrow when I'm thinking about this or something. But
well, listen, we'll figure something out today here. if you come up with something, we'll change it. Carlos, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
I appreciate it. I think that, like I said, I told you before, I think this is something that these young kids now that, you know, when you say World War II or even if you say the Korean War or the Vietnam War anymore, they don't know what you're talking about.
No, they don't appreciate
And it's nice to keep some, like me now, I'm kind of a history bug anyway. I mean, if I get something on TV about the Civil War or any of those, I get really interested because I'm kind of a history bug when it comes to
Patriot.
I have both my grandpas were both in the Civil War, and like I said, I'm just interested in that stuff. But this is going to be kind of interesting too now, with all the different guys you interview and the different things you hear, and that sounds interesting too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.